We are joined by Chuck Giussento and Bryce Conlon. They're the authors of the book Cloud Culture, Walking the Walk and Typing the Talk, Christian Living in the Social Media World. Guys, welcome to the program.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you.
We're glad to have you guys with us. And first of all, let me start with you. What prompted you guys to write this book?
Well, this book really came out of a conversation. We didn't intend to write it at all, but we saw a real void in the dialogue in the church and with Christians regarding social media, and it's something we've all got in common. And, yeah, it's about social media, but we don't want to scare anybody off. This isn't a computer techie sort of book in any way. We think social media is at its fundamental core about communication and relationship, and that's a big part of our faith, too. So it's not really about Facebook or Twitter particularly. It's about this new, digital landscape that's part of all of our lives, and we want to see how that fits into our faith.
And I know, guys, Chuck, I know you're a pastor and involved in church ministry, and Bryce, you've got a media production company, so you guys are deeply involved in social media. How has that affected people's relationships, how we relate to one another, and then looking at that from a Christian perspective, is it good, is it bad, is it indifferent, or does it just kind of depend on how we use it?
Well, I think it's deeply affected the way that people communicate with each other because we are now officially the most connected generation in history. Mm-hmm. And yet, in many ways, we've lost the ability to actually communicate face-to-face. And so it's something that we found, and as we were going through the process of writing the book, was that this is really, Facebook and Twitter and social media really affords us the opportunity to reach into people's lives in places where they would least expect it and really get to know them.
Yeah, it seems like it almost becomes a substitute for relationships sometimes.
Yeah, it is a case where, the relationship factor is the big thing, but what we want people to realize with social media and as Christians, it's not something we want them to take a step back from and wonder if that's something we should really be part of, but we want to lunge forward and have everybody realize just how much they can affect people's lives and speak into their lives on a daily basis, and really what an opportunity that is. It's nothing that any previous generation had available before, and we need to be all over that.
Well, and it really does provide that opportunity to, touch lives in a way that, for the average person, you would never have had that, even 50 years ago or 40 years ago, to be able to, on a daily basis, have your thoughts go out before, hundreds of people, thousands of people sometimes is a pretty remarkable thing. But that also, I think, comes as Christians with a real responsibility. And I know our primary audience here is a lot of high school, college-age kids. And sometimes you see the things that they put out. These are kids professing to be Christians. You see the things they put out, and it can be a little surprising, a little shocking what they put out there.
Sure.
Do we not realize what goes on there? Because sometimes there seems to be a disconnect with what people post and then what they say they believe and how they live.
Yeah, I think that social media in many ways is, it's almost, there's like a wall, and people feel like they're sometimes talking over a wall to their friends. So I agree, there is like a disconnect where they don't realize how many people what they've just said could potentially be seen by on an average day, and let alone if something picks up and goes viral in any capacity. It's impactful. And Chuck came up with a great analogy in the book. It's like us talking right now. Even though I'm talking on my phone to you, Tommy, mm-hmm. It would be completely ignorant to think that you and I are the only people who can hear what we're saying. This is going out to thousands of people. And social media is a lot like that, where now every person through their Facebook page or whatever has a platform to reach hundreds of lives on a daily basis.
And you said something else in your book that I thought was really kind of cool. Maybe, Chuck, you can address this. You say that our
Sure.
posts aren't just, it's not more than just, hey, make sure you don't post anything that reflects badly on you, but that the words that we're putting out there are really a gift and a responsibility to the people we're talking to.
Yeah, we've become so comfortable with texting and posting through Twitter and social media and everything that we almost just shoot from the hip, and we don't really give much thought to what we put out there. But what we put out there has a pretty good shelf life, and it has a much bigger reach than we realize. And, sometimes we just need to take a step back and reread what we're about to post and realize that this really has the potential to affect people's day. And yes, in their moods and things like that, and their opinions, but in a bigger way, if we realize what we can do for the cause of Christ with that, and really, pour blessing into people's lives, we have a worldwide reach right from our phone. It's amazing.
Yeah, you quote Proverbs 15:28, "The heart of the righteous weighs its answers." Boy, and how many times have we seen people get in trouble with tweets because they shoot from the hip and don't weigh their answers? And
sure.
As Christians, boy, I think it's a great responsibility we have to weigh our answers, which leads me to my next question. We've talked about some of the dangers, but what are some of the positives? How should and how can, and maybe Bryce, you could address this, how should and how can we as Christians use social media in a really positive, God-honoring way?
Well, I think the first and obvious answer is people do post things on social media that they wouldn't usually say in person. Mm-hmm. Like going back to that analogy, it's almost like a micro-blogging site where they'll share their feelings that they would never admit to in face-to-face. And so social media gives us an opportunity to really look into people's lives and to read between the lines of text that they're writing and to wade through all the muck. But we can really see if somebody's hurting or if somebody's upset or if they just need encouraging. And then we have a perfect opportunity to immediately message them and say, listen, hey, can I pray with you? Can I pray for you? Can I meet up for coffee with you? Is one of the great ways. Another, the other thing that we can do is just, what if every single day we got up and checked Facebook and just, let the Holy Spirit point to one person and just pray for that person on a daily basis. Or every day you get up and pray for a different person. It's a very silent thing. It's a very private thing, but how would that be impacting their lives? And if we all did that, that would be a major transformation, I think, that we would start to see in people's lives just as a result of social media.
And you talk about that prayer, and one of the things you point out in the book is that so many, like on Facebook and even on Twitter, so many people who are there coming from outside our community, outside the United States, that we have opportunity to reach people in places or pray for people or become aware of people in places where we couldn't go with the gospel freely. How can, is there ways, or do you guys mention strategies in the book that, for getting the gospel out maybe into places where, then Chuck, you could probably take this one, maybe into places where we couldn't necessarily go?
Well, yeah, I think part of it is realizing just the reach that is available to us 24 hours a day. And, we really didn't set out with this book to create strategies in a sense, because what we wanted, we really didn't want to have a formula for expressing our faith with Facebook. What we're looking to do is really stretch, I guess, and stress outside of social media that first and foremost our relationship with God is at its strongest possible place, because social media is about relationships. And your listener's relationship with God is I guess you could say, the relationship of all relationships. And if that is at its best possible place, then that is going to spill over into social media just in a real natural way. So ultimately, we're being real with people because that's what's on display with social media. They're seeing our lives on display. And so we want that to be natural. We want that to pour out in a real way. And that's going to have a huge impact, but not just with our close friends. I mean, obviously, this can go out and we can communicate with someone in India and China and Africa, and that was just unheard of before. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd never had that kind of opportunity. And as you look at the church itself, how could churches use social media, maybe in ways that they aren't now, but there are opportunities out there for churches to use social media to build their congregation?
Really, the church just can't bury its head in the sand right now regarding social media. I think for a lot of people, it's a long time between Sunday and Sunday, and it's great that churches have Facebook pages and things like that as a way to have a calendar of of events and stay relevant. But we want churches to realize it's more than that. This is how they can connect with people every single day and kind of bridge that gap between Sundays and really be integrated into their lives and help, meet their needs.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's important for, I think, churches as organizations to remember that organizations are just people with a commonality, a common belief system, coming together to accomplish a goal. And social media is about people connecting with people. So if a church, for example, takes the approach that we're, just going to broadcast our message, well, nobody's going to listen to that. It's just going to get tuned out. But if they remember and keep in mind that they are, in fact, themselves human beings and talking just person to person, then we can start to, as we mentioned, reach into people's lives. And as Chuck just said, really engage with the congregation every other day of the week. And then on Sunday, ultimately have stronger fellowship.
We're talking with Chuck Giacendo and Bryce Conlon. They're the authors of the book Cloud Culture, Walking the Walk and Typing the Talk, Christian Living in the Social Media World. We know that social media is not going anywhere. It's growing. Just kind of as a way of closing out here, where do you see social media going in the next few years, and what opportunities do you think that's going to open for us as Christians? And I'll let either one of you guys jump on that one.
Well, it's almost impossible to see where it's going to go. We couldn't have imagined 10 years ago where it would be now, so I can't even begin to speculate what the next platform is going to be. The way we intended to write Cloud Culture, though, was with the idea that it's based on these concepts of relationship and communication more than what's popular at a given moment. So whatever it looks like in 5 years, whether it is Facebook or Twitter or texting or whether it's on to a completely new method, I think these core principles are still going to hold true either way, that we as Christians should really be on the forefront of realizing the power of our words and how we communicate, and the strength of our relationships will fall into that.
Hey guys, I really appreciate you joining us this morning. If folks want to find out more information about the book, how can they do so?
Well, we are on Facebook and
Hey,
Twitter,
really?
of course. Yeah. But we also have a normal website, and that's cloudculturebook.com, and they can go there and find out anything they need to know about the book, read reviews, and watch some videos and stuff like that.
And we do have a copy of the book to give away this morning. Actually, I have 2 copies of the book to give away. So if you'd like a copy of Cloud Culture, Walking the Walk and Typing the Talk, Christian Living in the Social Media World, it's a great book. It's not very long. It's an easy read, but it's really a lot of valuable help in there for navigating the waters of social media. I've got 2 copies of that. I'll give away to callers number 5 and 6 at 419-240-1937 or 1-800-457-1937. Hey guys, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Really appreciate having you out.